was a mass shooting today at Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia. Now, the shooter was actually elbow to elbow with another student minutes before the shooting. I want you guys to listen to what she had to say. It's actually really sad that this is coming out of someone's mouth that's under 16, I'm assuming. She just sounds very much in shock. But let's listen to what she has to say. She's very articulate, and she did a great interview.
This morning, elbow to elbow, that shooter, Colt Gray, as he's been named by the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. Let me first start with, how are you? How are you coping?
I'm okay. I'm pushing through it, talking to friends, making sure, everyone else is okay, checking on people around me.
Can you bring me back? What happened?
I just remember, the moment that it happened, he was at the door, and I knew they were looking for him already, but he was at the door, and they almost let him in until they backed up, and then he turned away, and that's when you hear, the first rounds of fire.
So he was in class with you, in algebra class. He left. Then he came back, was at the door, and then knocking to be let back in. Why? You told me something about the doors.
Yeah, they lock automatically, so you have to be let in to come back into our classroom. So I think he wanted to come to us first.
Come to you first to shoot?
Yes, to shoot us class.
And then he was at the door, student went to open the door, and then what happened?
She backed away. I think she saw him, or maybe somebody said something, but I'm pretty sure she saw that he had a gun, and so she backed away.
So she was about to let him into the class. You think to shoot the students, saw that he had a gun, did not let him in. What happened next?
He turns to the classroom to what would have been my right, and he just starts to shoot. And you hear about 10 to 15 rounds back to back.
What did you hear? What did you think was going on in those moments?
As soon as they didn't let him in, you kind of I don't know, I already kind of had a feeling it was gonna happen and it was him. But as soon as they didn't let him in and you hear the gunshots, you kind of know.
You knew that something very bad was happening next door. Did he ever say anything?
No, he never really talked. He was pretty quiet. He wasn't there most times. Either he just didn't come to school or he just would skip class. But even when he would have talked, it was one-word answers or just short statements.
You told me off camera you weren't surprised that he would be the shooter. Why is that?
Just because when you think of shooters and how they act or things that they do, it's usually the quiet kid or that's what stereotype for it to be. And he was the one that fit that description in our class.
Did you ever see the gun, or did the student that go to the door see the gun, describe it to you guys?
No, I haven't talked with her after this. It was all pretty hectic, but I didn't see the gun.
Did he ever have a hobby of guns, hunting? Did he ever talk about any of that?
No, he never really talked.
Can you tell me what it was like inside of the classroom when you hear those gunshots go off? How I heard that you helped to keep the other students calm, right?
Yeah, most of when we heard it, most people just dropped to the floor and kind of crawled in an area, piled on top of each other, lost a shoe when they were, trying to get to a corner. The teacher turned off the lights, but we all just kind of piled together. And I pushed desks in front of us. I was just telling people push desks in front of you, block in front of you, get low, things like that.
And are there any metal detectors in the school?
No. Not that I know of.
Did you guys drill for active shooters? We know that some school districts do that.
They were silent drills, so we stayed in our seats. The teachers kept teaching through them. I think it was more for the system of it instead of preparing us.
How quickly, from the moment that you heard the gunshots go off to the hard lockdown alert going on the screens, letting everyone else in the school know that something had gone wrong, how long did that take? Do you recall?
Maybe a couple minutes, but it wasn't instant.
At what point did you know that this was over?
When the cops came in the room and asked us to put our hands up, asked us if we had anything. A little bit after that, they let us all out. But when it was kind of quiet, you hear cops yelling, but it's kind of quiet. There's no more gunshots, things like that.
Yeah. What was that communication like with your parents? I mean, all of us have phones nowadays. I spoke with many students texting what they thought might be their last words to their parents. What was that like for you?
I called my mom I called her and I was like, oh, they're shooting up the school. She thought it was like, she didn't believe me at first, and I was like, no, they actually are. And I talked to her for a second, and she was like, oh, I'm on my way right now. And then I was like, okay, I gotta go call other people. I text all my friends in the school, out of school, everywhere. And I'm just texting and calling kind of everybody.
And what was that like leaving the school? I saw videos of officers escorting the students with their hands raised. What was that like for you?
It was protocol, obviously, but I was glad it was over. Like, I was glad we were able to leave. I was looking for my friends that were there. I was comforting the ones that had been through a little bit of a harder time.
And then, Lila, what would you say to this student that you were just elbow to elbow with just this morning in algebra class, and now this?
I'm not sure. I want to know why he did it. I think that would be I want to know why.
For your time.
There's a couple of things that bother me about this. One thing in particular is that the school did get warning about this. I feel like they should have done something more major. Maybe closed the school down for the day. Now, I'm not saying that it's their fault, obviously, but, stuff like this you need to take serious. These are people's kids. Layla did an amazing interview. I think she was very composed, and she was able to really get her thoughts out and what was going on. I think she's doing a lot better than I would have had I had been a student at this school. But one of the things that I think I took from this about her was how caring she was about the other students and friends and families in her life. And then to hear that she texted and called her mom, her friends, everyone that she could. It makes you sad to think someone at this age had to go through something like that, and we've got to do better. We have to make this world a safer place, especially America, because again, we don't see this in any other country. America is the only place that you see this. Now, they're saying this is the deadliest school shooting this year out of 45. And this is one out of the 11 school shootings that have had 3 or 4 or more unalived. Let that sink in. This has got to stop. This is outrageous. Drop your thoughts down below. I hope you guys have a great night. Bye-bye for now.